I can stay if you need. Okay, so we're going to begin chapter 8 and do the discussion questions and the homework questions. Inshallah, Brother Shoaib should post the answers soon, so you'll have the answers to check. I just want to make sure before we go over the answers, did anyone have questions about the concepts? Would you like me to review the concept a little?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So the first concept we learned in chapter 8, before I begin chapter 8, does everyone understand chapter 7? Any questions about chapter 7? We taught possession in chapter 7. That was the main thing.
Maybe we could review. Are you guys okay with reviewing? Okay. I think it would be good because it's almost the same thing and like a lot of the same thing.
Okay, so I'll just review one concept very quick. I think we did it last week in the discussion section. I'll do it really, really quick. If you feel like you have more questions about it, let me know. I want to spend the majority of time on chapter 8. So the concept was possession. We learned possession is termed idafa in Arabic. That's the Arabic name for it. And possession essentially means creating the word of in Arabic. There's no special preposition for it. It's created by the relationship of how the words are. And so basically the part before of, there's two rules you need to know. It cannot have alif lam and it cannot have a tanween.
The first word.
Yes. The part before of. The word before of. The word after of cannot can have an alif lam, but it is always kasra basically. So three things you need to know. The two things are for before of. It's without alif lam, no al, and no tanween. No tanween and no al. And the word after of always has a kasra, no matter what. And the other thing you need to know is it's not a separate relationship. The word before of and the word after of always come together. The other thing that we reviewed in chapter 7 was when you say the boy's house, apostrophe S. In English, you all know what apostrophe S is in English? It means the same thing as the house of the boy. So when you're learning, translating English to Arabic, I urged everyone in the discussion section last week to translate it into an of sentence. So if you see the boy's house, translate it into the house of the boy. And then you'll know how to translate it exactly the way it should be. So that concludes chapter 7. And it was a really brief overview of the main concept. That wasn't the only concept, but that was the main concept that we emphasized last week. Any questions? Any other concepts that you want me to go over in chapter 7?
I had one question on one of the numbers, but I don't want to, if you've already reviewed them.
Which?
It was 7.4, number 3. Okay.
How about this? I'll go over with you afterwards. Okay, so let's start in chapter 8. So chapter 8, we're learning, so you want me to go over concepts really briefly and then we can go through answers. Okay, so chapter 8, the concepts that we learn is basically plurals. There's regular plurals and then there's broken plurals. Regular plurals follow a certain pattern for verbs and nouns. Right now, you need to literally memorize the pattern very, very well. And so the pattern is that Muslim table that you see after example 1, where it says Muslimu, Muslimuna, Muslimina, Muslimatun, Muslimatun, Muslimatin. So that table, you literally have to memorize. So it's basically the top row is masculine and the bottom row is feminine. There are 3 columns. One's singular, one's plural, and one's dual.
It would have been nice to label.
Yes, it would. And that's why you can label it.
You can label it perfect.
Would you like me to?
Sure, if you don't mind. Some professional labels.
So everyone go ahead and label that. The first row is masculine. The bottom row is feminine. And Muslimun is singular masculine. Muslimatun is singular feminine. So I want you to put singular over the first row. Do you guys know what singular means? One male or one female. Okay? So if I say one Muslim woman, it would be Muslimatun.
Why is it?
Muslim, we can do the.
Well, it could be Muslimatun, Muslimatan, Muslimatin. It could be any one of the ending sounds. But this is how you spell it. Does that make sense? It's after example 1.
Like change the chapter 9
Chapter 9?
Do you guys all find it?
They actually changed it.
Does everyone have it?
She's gonna look at mine.
Okay. Sure. So the first row is for masculine. So Muslima, Muslimuna, Muslimina is all masculine. Muslimatun, Muslimatun, Muslimatin is all feminine.
I think I was getting thrown off by the tune. Like, why would that be? I didn't understand what the table was about.
Yeah. This table is actually really helpful. Okay. I'll just wait till the adhan finishes. Okay. So in Arabic, nouns have 3 forms of conjugations. The 3 forms are dual. When it's 2 things, it's a different conjugation than when it's more than 2. When it's 3 or more, then it becomes a plural form. When it's just 2, then it becomes a dual form. And it's just 1, it's the singular form. So that's what you're basically learning. And so when you're doing the sentences, he wants you to translate it. If it says, like prophets in exercise 7.1 number 2, you would use the 3 or more word. If it said 2 prophets, you would use the dual version. It has to tell you it's specifically 2 for you to use the dual version. He did not?
If he did, I don't remember it. Because I was getting pretty confused.
For the singular, the second Muslimun, the plural,
Yes.
and the Muslimina.
Dual.
Dual.
He was saying something like, the Muslimuna would be like, that's the subject version, and Muslimina would be the object version. That's what I thought he was saying.
Okay. Well, we'll just continue onwards and we'll do examples, and that's the best way to understand this concept. So let's do example 1, where it says, so example 1, it says, Muslimuna fil masjidi wal muslimatu fil bayti.
He was saying Muslim too, but isn't it Mu'mina?
There's different ways of saying the same word, so that would be a synonym. So right now, so he says underneath, he explains it really well. He says this example introduces the sound plural, which is the regular plural. It's made by adding some letters to the end of the word. The sound plural does not exist for every word, so you must memorize which words have it and which words don't. So that plurals are probably the hardest concept in Arabic, because some nouns follow a pattern and some do not follow a pattern. So you have to know which ones follow a pattern and which ones do not. The word Muslim follows a pattern. Anytime you want to make it, so you see the al-Muslim, like the waw and the noon, Muslimuna, the waw and the noon make it plural. So if you want to probably circle the waw and the noon, I'll circle it on your paper. The waw and the noon are the special ending that indicates that it's plural masculine. The alif and the ta is a special ending that indicates that it's feminine. It's always this ending. So the root word, the beginning, that same word is the same. The ending just changes. But that rule doesn't apply for everything. There's certain words that are called broken plurals that have a memorized, you have to memorize the way it is. It doesn't follow a pattern. But we want to make it as simple as possible. So the words that follow a pattern, we want you to know that it does, so that it's easier for you, less vocab to memorize. Because you just have to know Muslim, and then you know which ending to add, and you know how to make it plural, basically. You know how in some words you add an S in English? And some words you don't add an S. You change the whole word completely. It makes sense, right?
I think we're getting confused is if you're just making this feminine, it's just a different type of right? So
Yeah,
if
it's
you're
for
just making
feminine.
this a feminine,
It cannot use the broken plural. That's what he explained that. For feminine.
no, but I'm saying if we're just saying a Muslim woman,
Yeah.
it would just be Muslimat.
Okay, so if it's one woman, it would be Muslimatu. But this is, it's plural, so it's a special ending. So this is a 3 or more ending. You have to know this special ending. And it applies to other words too, not just the word Muslim. So it's like a pattern that we have to memorize. Does that make sense?
So the difference between a singular Muslim woman and plural Muslim women is just the alif. There's an extra alif and the.
There's a different type of ta.
An extra alif. That's the only difference.
So I would know it as the ending. So a singular woman would have a ta marbuta at the end.
Okay.
A plural woman would have the alif with the open ta.
Okay.
I would know the ending. So just highlight the ending. Anytime you see it follow a pattern, highlight it. And so you'll know which words follow it. So the exercise underneath it, it basically teaches you how to use that ending over and over again. So let me go over example 2, and then we'll go through the homework stuff.
I don't know, I think we got rid of that one because we didn't learn two people in a verb.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay, so maybe the table is too far ahead for you guys right now.
I think the example uses, we have only learned he, she, I, and, right, we didn't learn.
You didn't?
When.
Okay, so you didn't learn that? That's fine.
I think he just crossed that off in the class, he said forget that
Okay, so let's,
Number 2. I mean, we're gonna learn it, but anyway.
okay, so did you learn example 2? Broken plurals? Did he go over broken plurals with you? Okay, so let me show you broken plurals. Okay, so number 2, the daughters of the prophets are here in the city. Banatu, do you see Banatu النبي هنا في المدينة. It doesn't say nabiyin, it says anbiya'in, right? So anbiya is a special broken plural. So you have to kind of know that. And you have to know the spelling of that broken plural.
So this is using also the of concept as well.
Exactly. It is using the of concept. So banatu al-anbiya It's not in because it has a alif lam. The word before it has no alif lam, and it doesn't have a tanween. The word after it has a kasra. So when you translate it, you automatically know that it must have an of relationship. So you actually have to get good at recognizing of relationships too, because in the test you will be asked to translate from Arabic to English. So you have to know it says the daughters of the prophet, of the prophets, or you could say the prophet's daughters. You know?
And is the best way to easily identify it just the uli, like?
Yeah. So easily identify is, you know, like the 3 things that I taught you. The word before of does not have an alif lam. It does not have a tanween. The word after of always has a kasra. But essentially, example 2 is just telling you what you need to know as is a broken plural. Sometimes certain broken plurals have a pattern and certain broken plurals don't have a pattern. Some of them do over here, so some of them don't, but he basically said just memorize the broken plurals. So kabir, kabar, kibar. Sorry, I can't read the markings. Okay.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I have trouble reading.
Yeah. I'll let him know. Masjid, masajid. You've heard of that. Ghani, aghniya. So you just basically have to memorize the broken plurals. And it's just saying memorize it. And it's just saying that there's 2 types of plurals. One follows a pattern, one does not follow a pattern. That's the whole concept.
So I don't know if this is going backward or whatever, but like on our list of vocabulary words, so we have 2 choices for prophet. One of them has the ending, and one of them is anbiya, right? So how do we know which one to use?
Oh, where it says, okay. That's a good question. I would use the broken plural.
Any reason or just seems right?
I've usually seen it in a broken plural form. I haven't seen it in another form. And that's the form that's usually used in the Quran.
Yeah.
So I would use the broken plural form.
So like what about disbeliever? There's 2 choices again.
There's 2 choices because it can follow a pattern and it can take a broken plural. So both are correct. So he wants you to know that there's 2 options available for it to become a plural.
So either one is correct anytime.
Yes. But he broke it down for you very well, so you know which ones are plural and which one following a pattern and which ones don't follow a pattern. So now you know when it says wow noon what it means. It can either, if it's masculine, it uses the wow noon. If it's feminine, it uses the alif ta. So just know the difference. Yes, basically. So example 3, he illustrates adjectives with plurals. So he says, so remember how I taught you when it's a noun adjective relationship, it must match in 4 things. But I said you've only learned 3 of those things. You haven't learned the 4th one. The 4th one is numbers. So it must match in gender. It must match if it's definitive, non-definitive. It must match in the vowel markings. And then the 4th thing that you didn't learn, which you now know, is it must match in number. So both, if the noun is plural, the adjective also has to be plural. So in example 3, he explains that the noun and the adjective have to match in number. So it has to match in 4 things now. So you know all of those, and you have to make sure you know that. Okay, inshallah. So that's essentially what it's explaining. So the example introduces how to use adjectives with plurals. Yeah, it's right underneath it. So does that make sense? So either it'll be a broken plural or it'll be a regular plural. You'll just have to know. So rijalu kabirun. Okay, it's not kabirun, it's kibarun, right? So it's not kabirun because kabir is 1. Kibar is many. So you have to attach the right one. So an nisa'u, it's not sagirun, it's sagiratun. So you have to make sure you learn something new. So that's what that example is teaching. Okay, so is this helping going over?
Yeah, it's helping a lot.
Okay, so the next one, let's quickly try to do as many concepts before Isha. Okay, so the next one, and we'll probably end before like around Isha time because I think everyone's leaving. But if you want, I'll be here. So the next one, it says this example introduces the idea that plural nouns refers to non-persons. We'll use the feminine. Oh, okay. So he taught you that. Okay, so broken plurals are treated as singular feminine. Or plurals in general are treated sometimes as singular feminine. So what that means is when I know it's hard. So over here, when it says al-kitabu, al-kutubu, kutub is books, right? And the adjective that's used is singular feminine. Why is it used singular feminine? It's supposed to match in number, but plurals are treated as singular feminine. Broken plurals specifically. So a non-human broken plural is treated as singular feminine.
Yeah, I think that's the part like I was just getting the other thing. But anyway.
Okay, so just remember that non-human broken plurals are treated as singular feminine. And then you'll know everything. Okay, we'll stop for Isha.